What's up guys, welcome back to my channel Anime Fiction. I'm back with a new episode of What If Naruto Was the Emperor of this Universe Part 10. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 28. I expected your responses, but I am still disappointed in your hypocrisy and cowardice. You overlook human beings involved in torture and genocide but have a problem when I do something similar. Unlike them, I am actually bringing about a positive change in the world while not endangering innocent lives. You should listen to yourselves. You sound like children afraid of the dark rather than adults. You are already aware of the outcome in my support, but you continue to engage in pointless conflict. Do you not see that I am master of the new era, and the world has recognized my authority? In the end, I am one of you. I will give you another chance to step down, my friends, and avoid an avoidable punishment. Naruto did not attack the group and stood like a heroic figure. The armor vanished from his body, revealing his true look to everyone. Naruto was now confident enough to expose his face. He could have remained concealed for a longer period of time without Gaia's assistance, but he didn't need it anymore. He was content with his power level and felt it was plenty to keep him standing on Earth. The Guardians were previously aware of Naruto's relationship with Gia, but she was mostly a chaotic neutral spirit. So they didn't believe him because of Gia. It did, however, make his article on the will of humanity more accurate. Since they had caught and examined part of Naruto's energy, none of them thought he was the will of humanity. They separated it into chakra and nature energy. The monster lacked many of the energies and skills that mankind had. Nonetheless, it was difficult to dispute that he was still the will. Even if he wasn't, he was an extremely strong monster with a wide range of powers. His appearance astounded them since most of them assumed he was an extraterrestrial. His physical appearance complemented his captivating voice. It worked particularly well with the female heroes. The Guardians were hesitant to support him because of his statements and looks. Someone made the initial step after a few seconds of stillness. Sandstorm approached Naruto's side after seeing their position. They were on Neptune, where Naruto had built an island for them to stand on, which was surrounded by a barrier that made everyone feel like they were on Earth. Sandstorm had been thinking about Naruto from the beginning, and when he arrived, he became even more enamored with him. The fact that Naruto did not get enraged and murder them for their rejection was a nice point. The fact that he kept giving them a chance even though it was evident that the bulk of them wouldn't survive a single move from him was the clincher. Cascade joined Naruto's team as well, joining Sandstorm. She has lived in Indonesia and other nearby nations. She was well aware of the government's corruption and how it had permeated society. Because she was not a skilled communicator, the job of purifying people's minds was beyond her talents. Seeing Naruto transform the characters of Gotham's distrustful and evil citizens was a fantastic sign of his skills. Cascade was certain Naruto was the emperor the people had been yearning for. Ice Maiden and Green Fire also went up, expressing their dissatisfaction with the present system. Naruto's comments reminded them of the pain they had ignored. He was correct. The system was murdering innocent people while doing nothing, while he was just killing wicked criminals who refused to reform. There were several reasons to accept his statements. His efforts and words successfully won their hearts. Ice also loved how he spoke to them in a warm way, as if he were a close friend. Dr. Must did not stop them from approaching Naruto's side and carefully studied the situation to ensure that they were not hurt. Naruto met them cheerfully and hugged them, congratulating them for making the right choice. He also murmured some encouraging words into their ears, which made them all quite pleased. It was most likely concerning changes that occurred while they were occupied. The other members felt embarrassed seeing all of this since they felt like they were the aggressors in the scenario because the other side was patient and didn't even want to hurt them. Dr. Mist was similarly drawn to Naruto after hearing his remarks, but she wanted to make certain. "Let us watch how he fights us and what happens after that," Dr. Mist said, and the others agreed. "I see you've made up your mind, so let me fulfill your desire," Naruto said as he glanced at them, knowing what they were thinking. The Guardians saw individuals emerge around them as they clapped their hands. They were the villains who had gone, and it seemed that they were now serving the Emperor. "Fighting weak beings is beneath my position, you must remember that. So, prove your point and achieve victory against my servants. Fight without fear, as none of you shall perish under my care," Naruto declared as he took flight and the armor returned. The guardians who followed him were covered in a golden barrier and sat to watch the show from above. Naruto had taken his crew to the island. Conan, Red Hood, Killer Croc, King Croc, Killer Frost, Livewire, Poison Ivy, Green Queen, Mr. Freeze, White Rabbit, Clayface, Earth King, Firefly, Man Bat, Volcana, Phoenix, and Toyman are among the characters included. His squad had 13 fighting-type men, whereas Black Mosk's team had 14. That was about the same as the number of guards, but they now outnumbered them. "I would have loved to give you a fair fight, but the world isn't really fair," Naruto stated as he sat on his throne and gave the fight his order to begin. Dr. Mist had expected them to confront Naruto, but instead they were up against new foes. He had intended to go for Naruto directly, but he reasoned that it would be wiser to take out the others first since they may give support in a severe fight. None of these individuals were supposed to be as powerful as his crew, and he was perfectly capable of taking care of them. Emperor, on the other hand, had faith in them and did not dismiss them lightly. Caitlin Snow played Killer Frost, a cryogenic scientist. Though she began as a villain, she has now changed her ways. Caitlin Snow was a young and bright STAR Labs scientist assigned to an underfunded STAR Labs outpost number 72 in the Arctic Circle, where the deceased researcher Dr. Louise Lincoln had been working on a self-sustaining thermodynamic ultraconductor engine that could subvert the second law of thermodynamics in order to create perpetual motion. Despite her colleagues' warnings, Caitlin got interested in continuing Lincoln's work. Caitlin's co-workers turned on her when she finished the STU engine, revealing themselves to be working for HIVE, since they were required to guarantee that the engine was never made public in order to safeguard HIVE's assets in the energy business. They were also responsible for Lincoln's death, and they proceeded to silence Caitlin by putting her in the operational STU engine. Caitlin yanked off the wiring for the engine's coolant system in a hurry, filling her biological composition with ice as a result. As a consequence, she transformed into a vampiric monster that loved heat and murdered the HIVE agents. Caitlin resumed her pursuit for heat after carrying out her revenge. She assaulted a Norwegian research site and stole their aircraft to travel to her birthplace of Pittsburgh, where she found and battled Firestorm. Caitlin found that Firestorm's abilities might temporarily cure her illness when battling him, so she dedicated her efforts to finding and confronting him. She quickly discovered the Firestorm matrix and sought to reproduce it. Caitlin was about to be apprehended by the Suicide Squad when Pamela arrived to save her. She brought Snow to Naruto, who offered her the treatment she sought in exchange for her allegiance. Snow no longer needed to steal heat from people and could now live quietly with her talents. Her ice talents had been greatly strengthened, and she was a member of Naruto's scientific team. Snow was a fiery and relentless lady with a keen sense of curiosity, and she wasn't a genuine villain since all she did was keep hunting for a solution. Livewire, an electrical manipulating supervillain and former video blogger, was played by Leslie Willis. She mostly battled Superman, however she has also faced up against Batgirl. Leslie Willis was a regular video blogger from Metropolis, with a focus on amusing pranks and cosmetic instructions. Despite the fact that her pranks were usually harmless, she ultimately plotted a prank that would go too far. Leslie created a contraption that would enable her to control all of the energy in Metropolis once it was connected to the city's main power plant. She broke into the power plant and connected her gadget to the electricity system. She then videotaped herself as she planned her prank. Superman took away her invention just as she was about to pull the lever to activate it. Angered by the destruction of her prank, Leslie settled for shutting off the electricity, leaving Metropolis in full darkness. When she switched off the switch, she suffered a massive electric shock that placed her into a coma. When she awakened, she discovered she was a pure electrical monster. She battled Superman multiple times under the alias Livewire, seeking retribution for her predicament. Superman was eventually able to develop a containment chamber capable of retaining Livewire in her electrical state with the aid of Batman. Livewire was apprehended by the two heroes and sent to Stryker's Island Penitentiary, where she was meant to spend her sentence. Naruto discovered her location of confinement and freed her. Livewire was a haughty and narrow-minded lady who was completely selfish and self-serving. She enjoyed making others laugh and aspired to be renowned. Pranking was all she knew, and she imagined it would make her famous on YouTube like the other big men. Naruto's promise to make her famous was quite appealing, particularly because he gave her the power to become a regular human again, and she didn't want to perish at his hands. His good looks and charisma were other factors, so she was taken in like the rest of the ladies under Naruto. Her abilities skyrocketed when Naruto gave her the boost. Toyman was the team's last newcomer. Winslow Schott was the Toyman, a villain who utilized toys as weapons against Superman. Winslow Percival Schott developed a flair for toy making as a child in the United Kingdom and became interested in putting his own creative abilities to the test. His very first toy was a simple toy airplane fashioned from balsa wood and painted red and blue. Unfortunately, the local bully took advantage of the occasion to intimidate the sensitive Schott and seized his wooden airplane, aggravating the kid whose talents had just been wasted. Despite this, Schott did not give up on a potential career as a toymaker. In fact, Schott became world-renowned for his innovative toy creations while operating his own humble, tiny firm. Then came the day when Walter Dunhill, the owner of an armaments factory, approached Schott with the offer of acquiring his highly superior toy ideas for use in weapon development. Schott was horrified by the offer and refused, but the death of his wife Mary in a car accident, most likely orchestrated by Dunhill, forced Schott to retire and surrender his firm and innovations. Schott was never officially married in any manner, shape, or form, and instead developed Mary as a human-like robot designed to behave as if she were his wife. Regardless, Mary was very real to Schott, and she inspired him to exact his vengeance on Dunhill by mailing him an exploding teddy bear that killed him. Schott then went on to have a criminal career as the villainous Toyman. The Toyman then attempted to attack Lex Luthor, whose business LexCorp held Walter Dunhill's armaments manufacturing company as a subsidiary, with an exploding replica of a LexCorp flying wing and subsequently a swarm of exploding action figures. However, by the time Superman arrived to Toyman's apartment, he had been abducted by Morgan Edge, who had recruited Toyman for his criminal organization Intergang. When Toyman reappeared a little later, he attempted to abduct the children of LexCorp executives using robotic toys, but Superman foiled his plan. Toyman was also duped into assisting in the construction of the Happyland amusement park under the false assumption that it was intended solely for the purpose of bringing happiness to children. However, when Toyman discovered that the amusement park was actually a front for an operation led by the apocalyptian monster Sleaze, he assisted his adversary Superman in bringing the park's true clandestine goings-on to light. Toyman kidnapped numerous children in Metropolis, including Adam Grant, Cat Grant's son, after escaping jail and altering his appearance, prompted by a voice in his brain that he recognized as his mother's voice. Toyman killed Adam and the others before dumping their remains in an alley in Suicide Slum. Superman apprehended him and took him inside. Cat Grant considered murdering him when he was in jail but finally chose not to. Cat went to see Schott in jail months after her son's murder to find out why he had turned into a child killer. Toyman said that it was solely the fault of the youngsters. Toyman had been contacted by a toy producer that created Superman-based toys for permission to use his image as a toy after being arrested for assisting Intergang. Schott would not earn royalties, but he consented anyway, delighted at the prospect of becoming a real toy. Schott then spent the greater part of a year attempting to contact the toy producer in the hopes of obtaining a duplicate of the item. There was no reaction. Schott was eventually permitted to participate in a prisoner labor program, sweeping floors at a nearby mall after dark. When he arrived to one of the toy shops, he saw his item among the many other Superman toys, but none of them had been sold, despite being reduced down to dirt cheap rates. Schott snapped and strangled his guard before fleeing and tracking down the toymaker, demanding an explanation. The toy producer stated that the youngsters just did not want him, preferring to play with a doll that resembled a clown rather than a serial murderer. Schott started to hear the voice of his mother after killing the guy and wanted to make children pay. Zatanna had attempted to help him but had just made matters worse. Schott had already began hearing his mother's voice while in prison before Zatanna messed with his psyche. The Toyman was later discovered to be a malfunctioning android proxy developed by Winslow P. Schott rather than the genuine Winslow P. Schott. Nonetheless, the actual Toyman suffered from very serious psychiatric disorders and delusions, albeit never to the extent of harming or murdering children, as the replica did. This was shown by his unwavering belief that his android invention, Mary Schott, was his legally wedded wife and his neurotic fixation on distrusting anybody above the age of 17. Finding the genuine Toyman was a difficult task, but Naruto had scoured everyone's brains for hints and matched them to find the man. Naruto hired him to make even better toys to aid the children of the new age after he was punished for his crimes. The guy has amazing intelligence to produce such magnificent technologies, particularly the capacity to construct an AI of this caliber. Toyman, like the others, was captivated by Naruto's vision. He was pleased to learn that the Emperor was also quite inventive when it came to toys and wants to make them. He had finally found an investor in his life who was actually interested in the development of his toys. He'd just joined a week before the war and had already begun working on new initiatives to keep the kids happy. Naruto admired children because they represented the future and were just cute. He wanted them to adore him because it would affect others around them and make them more likely to support him in the future. Naruto never missed a beat, even creating cartoons for children and nursery songs. Naruto taught Toyman about puppetry from his planet and given him the ability to create such strong toys. Toyman's degree of intelligence allowed him to produce two masterpieces, Puppetman and Monzaman, in less than a week. Puppetman resembled a wooden puppet with an iron hammer, whilst Monze resembled a huge yellow teddy bear. Returning to the combat, Red Hood assumed leadership of the crew at Naruto's request. He didn't want to battle the heroes, but he saw Naruto's point and totally agreed. The heroes had to either follow or leave the game so they didn't become a nuisance. Red Hood had anticipated Naruto's absence from the time he was notified of his new role as leader. However, he was unconcerned and felt honored to get such recognition. He had calmed down and found a leader in Naruto in the preceding month. He saw the possibility of Batman being complete again, so he only wanted to get closer to that day as fast as possible. He did, however, hope that Joker was really terrible and that the maniac would refuse the second opportunity so that Naruto could kill him. He was aware, however, that Joker was mad and that he would most likely be spared after being cured of his lunacy. Red Hood chose the targets for each member based on the opponents. The majority of the Guardians would be eliminated quickly so that the squad could concentrate on the stronger members afterwards. Black Mask, assassinate Crimson Fox. Do it quickly, and then help others. Conan, Livewire, and Phoenix will look after Dr. Mist. Take care of Rising Sun, Killer Frost and Mr. Freeze. Green Queen, look after Olympian. King Croc, take out Tasmanian Devil and save Green Queen. Firefly and Earth King, extract Godiva. Toyman and White Rabbit look after Thunderlord and provide assistance against Dr. Mist. Man Bat, come with me, and we'll get Chrysalis. Team, move out. Red Hood yelled as he rushed towards his objective, his new abilities and equipment at his disposal. Green Queen was the first to act, creating a forest underneath the Guardians that Phoenix set on fire. Man Bat soared faster than Jason and flapped his wings, generating massive tornadoes that combined with the flames. Dr. Mist was forced to stop the onslaught with his magical barrier, while Livewire unleashed a lightning storm on it. It drew his attention as Earth King manipulated the soil to disperse the other heroes. Dr. Mist realized the error and tried to bring them back, but his vision was obscured by a storm of millions of exploding papers, forcing him to concentrate on his opponents. The powerful assaults made it difficult to offer help to his squad, but he was able to provide magical boost and protection. Black Mask had the easiest opponent on the team. Crimson Fox had the misfortune of specializing in pheromone management at a time when Green Queen had already dispersed her own pheromones to negate that possibility. He began with simply the power of a typical superhuman. However, as a result of his accomplishments, he acquired the power of shadows. His previous form faded as darkness enveloped his body, revealing his new identity as the Shadow Lord. He became bigger and more strong, sporting black armor and a massive sword. His skull-shaped head was still glowing with blue flame, giving him a demonic look. Please accept my apologies, my beautiful lady, but allow me to introduce you to the darkness of the world, Shadow Lord happily said, finally able to employ his new abilities in warfare. Shadow Lord appeared from the shadows and pulled Crimson Fox into the darkness. Naruto developed this fighting technique after merging Nara clan shadow control with grudge skills. The grudge had greatly contributed to the growth of his evil abilities, as did Zatara, who had struggled against the Great Darkness. Unfortunately, Crimson Fox was kidnapped from the fight and was unable to give any resistance while stuck in a dark pool with only Dr. Mist's protection keeping her safe. Tasmanian Devil was the second to fall after Crimson Fox. During the month, King Croc had grown in height and strength, which was too much for his opponent to handle. King Croc resembled a large bipedal crocodile with golden armor, standing 5 meters tall and a 2-meter tail. His strong physique dwarfed the Tasmanian devil. King Croc slammed at his adversary like a speeding train, utilizing water to glide towards him. King Croc also utilized water to keep his opponent tied, providing him with an immobile adversary to confront. Tasmanian Devil was knocked out by King Croc's shoulder blow and was then struck by a lightning assault from Livewire. "That was mine." King Croc yelled at his partner, who chuckled. Ignoring the interruption, King Croc resumed his attack and pulled Tasmanian into the sea, trapping him in a water jail. The beast-like guy became unconscious and sank into the ocean, but Naruto and Crimson Fox rescued him. Thunderlord was battling against 2 formidable opponents after Tasmanian Devil. White Rabbit was too much for him since she moved quicker than his sound strikes, but Toyman's puppets were also too much for him. Only his excellent martial arts ability kept him alive for more than a second. White Rabbit produced pheromones to perplex him, but the guy was steadfast and managed to withstand her solicitations. He also withstood Toyman's puppets' poison assault and utilized his sound attacks to smash their bones. Thunderlord could unleash sound strikes and regulate their vibrations to break down even metals, making him a formidable adversary who had fully harnessed his abilities. However, the knowledge about him was previously known, and the squad dodged his strikes. White Rabbit chose direct battle over his sonic assaults. She was an illusionist, and her tricks worked wonders on him. Running around the enemy, White Rabbit created an illusion of the existing battlefield, but it made it hard for Thunderlord to perceive their right location and provided him with incorrect visual and acoustic data. Thunderlord acted as though he had gone insane, assaulting the wind while the Royal Knights were free to take him out. Puppetman slammed his ballistic mallet on his back and sent him flying like a wrecking ball. The explosive strike, which could have easily demolished a tower, ruined his garments and scorched his flesh, in addition to causing internal damage. White Rabbit retaliated with a leaping kick to his abdomen, badly injuring him. In revenge, he managed to raise his arms and shout at White Rabbit. She was still too quick for the strike and fled out of range, while Thunderlord was struck by another shoulder tackle from the gigantic teddy bear, forcing him to continue flying. He was badly hurt and vomiting blood, so White Rabbit grabbed his arm and slammed him into the ground while breathing into his face, causing him to lose consciousness. White Rabbit surveyed the battlefield and decided to assist Red Hood, while Toyman carried out the plan and proceeded to aid the warriors against Dr. Mist. Because Red Hood didn't have all of the knowledge about Chrysalis, the fight took longer to complete, and she ended up being exceedingly harmful to them due to her illness ability. Man-Bat's storms had engulfed Chrysalis, impeding her movement and eyesight. However, the robotic fairy managed to break past the tremendous wind barriers and collide with Man-Bat. The robotic fairy had gone insane after being given the order to destroy all adversaries since the organization didn't believe she would survive the conflict. Red Hood used his new weaponry, which could fire at Mach 50 and plow through tanks with ease. His small machine gun fired quickly and spared Man-Bat from certain death as Chrysalis almost pierced his skull with her drill-like hand. The gunshot fire caused Chrysalis to shield the assault with her wings, allowing Man-Bat to scream and throw away his attacker. Following that assault, Red Hood fired the fairy with his rocket launcher. The hypersonic weapon was destroyed by a laser launched by the metallic fairy. She modified her fighting approach after analyzing the opponents, and the battle proved disastrous for Red Hood. She lured the heroes into a trap by releasing little butterflies into the laser field while she blasted lasers from her sparkling wings. Man-Bat was the first to be struck, and his wings began to necrosis almost immediately. Red Hood responded quickly, cutting off the wings with his sword and releasing small bombs around his opponent. The explosion shook the battlefield, but their opponent was unaffected, thanks to White Rabbit's presence. Red Hood realized that the fairy had never utilized her true talents until this fight, despite being one of the most powerful opponents on the battlefield. White Rabbit, this is not appropriate for us. We'll switch to Dr. Mist with Man-Bat and let Conan handle Chrysalis. Red Hood gave the order as he began sprinting away from the robotic murder fairy who had almost murdered them with her strong lasers. Papers created a barrier in front of them, halting the onslaught. When Conan heard Red Hood, she fled away from Dr. Mist. The struggle with the Wizard Master was not simple, and it was not going to finish soon, but Conan, unlike the others, was able to create clones. She wasn't the strongest on the squad, as Green Queen was, but Conan was without a doubt the fourth strongest. Livewire and Killer Frost came in second and third, respectively, since their skills were already exceedingly potent prior to Naruto's blessing. Conan had grown stronger with Naruto's blessing and gained even more strength in the Sage mode. Her basic strength had been increased to Pain's level, indicating that she was a base city buster. She had progressed to country level using Sage mode. She had grown closer to Naruto over the course of the month. She regarded him as a friend and let go of the negative ideas that were threatening her life. He had paid her attention and taught her the path to a happier existence. He had blessed her without reservation, despite the fact that she was replaceable to him. Conan intended to award him the Rinnegan after the fight since he demonstrated that even in the face of opposition, he made no compromises and battled to improve the world. He did not murder the heroes who turned him down. He deserved to be the leader and was not a hypocrite. Conan, like an unstoppable force, enveloped Chrysalis in numerous layers of paper explosives and forced her into the earth while detonating the bombs underneath. Chrysalis lost her legs and wings, causing her system to malfunction, and she was grounded by the remaining papers. Conan proceeded to offer her assistance and assaulted Godiva, who was fighting Firefly and Earth King. She had injured both warriors and would have easily won if Shadow Lord hadn't aided her with his shadow binding power. It rendered Godiva immobilized and almost lost her the war. Unfortunately, she utilized her hairs to battle, allowing her to deflect the onslaught and continue fighting even with Shadow Lord interfering with her flow. Conan wrapped her in paper explosives when Earth King and Shadow Lord led her to. She was so concentrated on the three troublemakers' assaults that she didn't see the invisible paper explosives. Conan detonated the few explosives on Godiva's legs and arms, allowing her to continue fighting with her hair. It was not a pleasant sight as Godiva screamed in agony. Her limbs fractured and she lost consciousness as a result of the excruciating agony. Olympian was outraged by her screaming, while the rest of the crew was concentrated on assisting Dr. Mist. Pamela was quite thrilled about the duel between the Green Queen and the Olympian. She was the team's strongest member, and her natural strength had increased to the point that she could blanket the whole globe with green. She was the most content person on the planet, but she still wanted more. She wanted to have complete control over Naruto. He was the first person in her life to grab her heart to the point that she couldn't get it back. His demeanor indicated that he was not enchanted. On the other hand, she was charmed beyond reason. She wanted him to concentrate on her. She wanted his unending love and loyalty. She didn't want to tell anybody else. However, it seemed to be a greater difficulty than she had anticipated. She had always assumed that any male she selected would easily surrender. Naruto refused to comply, and Pamela refused to leave him even when she was forced to. Pamela had been thinking about strategies to capture his heart in addition to fulfilling her chores. His attitude toward her had softened during the month, but she was still dissatisfied. He was still not in love with her. What was she supposed to do? Pamela pondered and came to the decision that she should become the strongest and most valuable. If someone had his level of strength and was irreplaceable to him, Naruto would adore her. Most of the females surrounding Naruto had this notion since the young guy had yet to fall in love. Naruto understood love and gave deeper sentiments of admiration than others, but he had never been in love and it was not his focus at the time. Returning to the battle, Pamela hoped to impress her love with her new skills. With the Golden Fleece's blessings, her adversary was exceedingly strong. Olympian was very powerful, possessing the ability to fly and teleport. He had the ability to heal and was poison resistant. He was resistant to mental manipulation, despite the fact that the fleece itself drove him insane. All of these skills made him one of the most powerful heroes on the planet, and he was gaining in strength to the point where he could receive missions from Olympus and be directly blessed by the immortals. Nonetheless, the worst aspect about him was his invulnerability due to the Golden Fleece. Regardless of her powers, Green Queen was one of the worst opponents anybody could face. Pamela instantly blanketed the area surrounding them with thick foliage that was full of her power, making even the tiniest tree too tough to be damaged by any human weapon. The shift in terrain made it difficult for Olympian to maneuver and identify his opponent, while Pam attacked him from distance. She sat on a green throne composed of huge flowers and lazily battled Olympian. Her fighting style demonstrated her talent and desire to impress. I wonder what my love is thinking, Pamela thought as she sat on her throne, a kind of Olympian lightning ability. He possessed X-ray vision, she hadn't forgotten. Olympian was trapped by vines and slammed against trees as Pamela was laughing it off. He attempted to strike Pamela with lightning strikes, but the big trees stopped all of his attempts. The trees crushed him with their hands, acting like giant limbs. Only his healing power and invulnerability kept him unharmed. Olympian, on the other hand, was not done seeking for an opportunity. Olympian eventually moved at a remarkable rate after enduring the battering. His body was engulfed in lightning, and the golden fleece served as a shield in front of him, deflecting all blows. Pamela anticipated his arrival by controlling the plants. The plants gathered and raced towards Olympian, who was being shot from behind with wooden spears. Pamela was able to restrain Olympian with all of her maneuvers. I expected you to last longer, Olympian, but you disappointed me, Pamela said as Olympian remained suspended in the air while wrapped in vines and trees, just his head visible. He scowled at Pamela and fought the shackles. Godiva and his buddies both needed him. With his increased hearing, he heard her cries and his eyes became bright red with wrath. Hearing their agonizing sounds caused him heartache. He battled like a lunatic. Pamela grumbled as she upped the pressure and buried him in the green. Olympian, on the other hand, pushed and pushed. He overstepped his bounds and wanted control from the golden fleece. Lightning storm engulfed the area and began wreaking havoc on Pamela's battleground. Olympian was set free, and his eyes were fully gold. The golden fleece had given his wish, but the prior hero's tremendous impact had left the body on berserk mode, leaving Olympian unable to separate himself from the other identities. However, this made him much powerful than before, and Pamela was forced to defend herself. Olympian continued to strike with lightning and even manufactured lightning spears to throw against Pam. Green Queen used plants to shield strikes while moving about since she wasn't strong enough to face Olympian in close combat. She used wooden shackles and vines to bind him, but he quickly burst through them. He crushed through the wooden dragons she made to dogpile him. She hurled wooden cannonballs and hundreds of wooden spears at him, but the lightning destroyed everything. He had evolved into an unstoppable beast. Pamela, on the other hand, did not panic and used her talents to build a massive monster to compete with him. The behemoth formed of green battled Olympian in close combat, keeping the berserker busy. Shadow Lord assisted in the fight by detaining him and attempting to sink him into a dark pool, while King Croc arrived to aid in the battle by displaying Olympian with water strikes from distance. Because the location was largely water, it was ideal for him. Naruto had transformed Neptune into a water planet capable of supporting life, and he intended to move certain species to the area. He wanted to use all of the planets correctly, thus he planned to relocate Atlantis to Neptune shortly while making Jupiter his new home. Returning to the battle, Olympian began to weary after being struck too many times and using too much energy. Shadow Lord and King Croc's meddling had made it simpler for Pamela to win. The giant behemoth battled well, and the Green Queen produced a massive beast in the rear through which she charged natural energy. Olympian was killed by the nature bomb, which sent him plummeting into Neptune's unending ocean. The assault would have killed him, but Naruto protected him and even restored his shattered psyche before it occurred. Even though the fight had been won, Green Queen was irritated that she had need aid and had been almost vanquished. I need to repair this humiliation, Pamela reasoned as she approached Dr. Mist. Killer Frost and Mr. Freeze were busy with Rising Sun while Pam was battling Olympian. The man's solar talents were extraordinarily strong, but they were able to keep him grounded with their ice capabilities. Mr. Freeze had progressed from a human-level combatant to the point where he could battle superhumans, and his equipment had been vastly improved to the point where it could even affect animals like the new Pamela. He never had any desire to attain such authority. That had changed after meeting Naruto, and he was excited to develop for his beloved Nora. Victor had softened, much like his history, and had begun volunteering around the city in his spare time. He was excited to see his sweetheart, but he was also anxious about their reunion. Getting closer to that day had made him excited, and Naruto had made him joyful with his magical words, "You will reunite after the battle." Mr. Freeze's spirit was higher than everyone else on the field with those words on his thoughts. Killer Frost, on the other hand, battled calmly and saw the mission as her duty. She agreed with Naruto's intentions and was eager to carry them out. Unlike some of the others, she did not blindly follow him and questioned his actions. It was a lovely collaboration since her lord didn't mind addressing her questions and made her feel valued. Snow's feelings for Naruto were similar to Pamela's, but she lacked confidence. Frost just kept on her way, wishing to be at his side. It would be perfect if he selected her and she was prepared to wait. She was afraid of having to face the subject of what she would do if he didn't choose her in the end. What would happen if he refused her company? After experiencing the delicious nectar of Naruto's intimate company and affection, it was a nightmare for any of them. Frost was prepared to dream bigger and adapt to her lover in order to rule out such a possibility. Even though she seemed chilly, her heart was warm for her new acquaintances and her love. Returning to the combat, Killer Frost made the battlefield exceedingly chilly in order to oppose Rising Sun's abilities and restrict his sunlight absorption. Because the adversary could fly, Frost skated around him by freezing the air, while Mr. Freeze fought from the ground and provided assistance with his Sub-Zero guns, as he was unable of direct battle with such a figure. Rising Sun easily evaded the ice beams, but he could feel the surroundings becoming colder. It was weakening him and making it harder for him to regain the energy he had lost. Nonetheless, he doubted the duo's ability to overcome him. "Miss Frost, please stop this futile battle. You will be hurt," Rising Sun said to prevent injuring Frost since he didn't consider her a villain. He also despised injuring women. It was an unpleasant experience. "Thank you for your kind words, but this battle will go on until we win. Rising Sun, surrender and follow my lord, it is better for you," Killer Frost said as she attempted to freeze the region surrounding Rising Sun. "I will reject that proposal," Sun said as he launched a solar wave, scorching the area and increasing the temperature. Sun blasted heat beams at Freeze and Frost while controlling the energy inside him. Frost lowered the ice bridge while protecting Freeze with layers of ice barriers. She also sent ice beams from all directions toward Sun, generating a larger ice storm to weaken him. Sun evaded the onslaught by counteracting part of the rays. Because Killer Frost was shielding Freeze, he chose to go for her first. However, Freeze realized that the guy was superior to them in fighting strength and made the incorrect option. Frost was alerted when Freeze deployed explosives on land. Frost was battling the Sun in the sky, but he was losing since the heat outweighed the freezing abilities. Frost charged up an attack and launched a huge beam that knocked Sun down and caused the explosion. Sun was startled by the abrupt explosion, and the massive quantity of cold energy diminished his abilities as he plummeted into the ocean. Sun attempted to escape the ocean as quickly as possible, but King Croc, Shadow Lord, and Earth King sealed his destiny. The Soil King used his power over the soil to confine him, while the shadows in the water attempted to drown him. Rising Sun's energy reserves were depleted and he lost consciousness as a result of Freeze and Killer Frost's strikes on the water. With that, Dr. Mist was the sole remaining opponent, and he was the most powerful entity on the battlefield apart from Naruto. Dr. Mist's struggle was fierce and grueling. His magic was powerful enough to negate anything the squad hurled at him, and the most they could do was prevent him from assisting his team. Dr. Mist hadn't anticipated the combat to be so fast-paced and devastating, so the squad wasn't the only one who was exhausted. His squad had been eliminated even though they had the edge due to teamwork on the opposing side. Typically, villains were bad team players who took their time in combat. This time, his squad was vanquished by cooperation while he was preoccupied. Mist didn't blame the Guardians who fled, even though the battle may have been won if the 4 people had remained. Mist teleported to other targets while blocking lightning bolts, countless explosions, and scorching flames. The Royal Knights had collected, and fighting them would become incredibly tough. Mist targeted the weaker members while using his magic shields to prevent assaults. Directly blocking such strikes did require energy, but he was able to take out the simple targets. Red Hood, Man Bat, King Croc, Shadow Lord, Mr. Freeze, White Rabbit, Toyman, Firefly, and Earth King were defeated, leaving Conan, Phoenix, Livewire, Killer Frost, and Green Queen to fight. Volcana's new name, Phoenix, reflected her energy as a reborn and liberated bird. Her abilities were also greater than those of a volcano, therefore she adopted the moniker of the mythological bird of fire. She had never envisioned herself getting to this stage, but she was captivated with her lord. Naruto had constructed a magnificent fantasy that Phoenix wanted to live in forever. In the brutal world that had abandoned her, he was everything. He reshaped her spirit and provided her with a true existence in which she could appreciate and rise to new heights. Phoenix, unlike the others, didn't mind sharing him with others since Naruto owned them. They would never be able to possess his heart. She was content to just be alive with him, as he blazed brightly and brought warmth to everyone like the golden sun. Battles had never been her thing, but seeing how Naruto enjoys them, Phoenix embraces the excitement of combat in order to partake in his delight. She had hoped to overcome Mist, but the combat revealed that he was exceedingly strong, and she would have lost if she had fought him alone. Even with Conan and Livewire's assistance, it was highly perilous. It was fortunate that the others joined. Livewire agreed with the attitude, despite her disappointment at being denied victory. Her arrogance had not been eliminated, but it had been handled such that she did not make rash judgments. Unlike the other females, Livewire totally embraced the conflict and, like the other girls, agreed with Naruto on several issues. Pamela shared Naruto's passion for flora. Phoenix shared Naruto's passion for fashion. Killer Frost's drive for knowledge resembled Naruto's, while Conan's ambition to restore peace to the world echoed his. However, none of this compared to Naruto's level. Livewire suited his appetite for fun and games as well as war. She was certain they were meant for each other. Naruto had won her heart with his commanding attitude and his sense of humor. She was astounded to see that the solemn figure could crack jokes and play practical jokes. She was even more taken when he pushed her to enjoy fighting, in contrast to the other irritating folks. He breathed new vitality into her life and gave it meaning. Livewire received both the love and the games she craved. She aspired to be the Lightning Queen, who captured the Emperor's heart and filled the cosmos with joy. Returning to the combat, it was still going badly even after the others came in. Dr. Mist abandoned his defensive posture and launched an all-out assault on them. Phoenix and Killer Frost were the first victims of his magical blasts, which he summoned from the Dark Realms. The Eldritch blasts threw them into the sea and rendered them immobile. Mist was dead serious since he didn't want to lose. Conan only survived the onslaught due to her ability to transform into paper, which allowed her to evade much of the damage. Because of this, Livewire survived by transforming into lightning, while Green Queen deflected the onslaught with her Wood Warrior and fought back with a Nature Blast. Mist moved closer to Pam before unleashing another strike that knocked her out of the fight. Seeing how easily they might be defeated, Conan began assembling a stack of paper to stop him, while Livewire began to charge up. Mist was pleased by their action and cancelled Conan's strike by overriding her control of the paper. Otherwise, Conan's attack would have generated millions of explosions, which would have required a lot of energy to prevent. Livewire had erupted into a massive ball of lightning that was both powerful and hot. Mist dealt with Conan, and she almost struck him as she shot at him at dizzying speed. Mist teleported, and Livewire almost collided with the fractured island. She pivoted and zigzagged towards him, but she collided with a magical shield and became caught inside it. Mist assaulted her with black energy indefinitely until Livewire passed out. The fight had pushed him farther than he had anticipated, and he hadn't battled like this in a long time. Clap, clap, clap. That was a wonderful show, my friends, Naruto said, but I believe it is time to end. What do you say, Dr. Mist? Do you submit? He said as all the heroes and royal knights gathered in the skies around him, protecting and healing him. Only Mist remained outside, stubborn and angry. When he saw the figure above, he felt compelled to take a step back. Without the true opponents interfering, the struggle had already been difficult. I wouldn't be here if I surrendered every time a strong enemy appeared. I will fight until the last breath, so do your worst, Dr. Mist answered as he mustered all of his abilities, forming gigantic magical circles and conjuring unending energy from the unknown. Naruto smirked as he gently glided towards it, making everything seem casual as he strolled through it like it was breeze. Mist attacked him with his most powerful attacks, but they didn't even touch Naruto before they vanished. His very presence broke the walls like glass. Resistance is futile, my friend. The Emperor is invincible, Naruto mumbled as he grasped Mist in his huge palm. The head was seized, but Mist continued to struggle, but nothing worked since Naruto counteracted everything on a molecular level. With his atomic annihilation, he wiped everything. Dr. Mist saw his body slowly dissolving as his molecular structure fragmented and concluded it was pointless. He could never have fought this overwhelming adversary. His body reverted to normal once he lost his spirit, and Naruto let him go. Take a seat, Mist. It's time we talk about your team's role in the new world, Naruto said, commanding attention and obedience as ground formed under his feet. Flowers grew beside the land, and a big table with seats for everyone appeared. Everyone made their way to the seats, with Mist being the last to take a seat. I submit to your rule, Emperor. Thank you for going easy on us, and I apologize for my rude behavior. We all felt that you were right, but I wanted to confirm thoroughly. This battle has shown me that you care about all of us and don't think of us as pawns. Once again, thank you for your work, Dr. Mist said before taking a seat. When Naruto inquired again, he had already made his choice, which had been strengthened during the struggle. He'd seen the most selfish individuals work together and care for one another. Unlike him, there was abundant evidence that the Emperor was the ideal person to rule mankind. He had failed to even alter individuals close to him, but the Emperor had done so effortlessly. He was a man with a commanding attitude and demeanor. He deserved to be their leader, particularly given his great strength. Mist had never thought the Emperor to be that strong. It was just a matter of time until the Emperor conquered the remaining heroes. He really followed through on what he said, and no lies were spoken. He was the genuine will of humanity, and with someone like Gaia's assistance, it would become a reality soon. The other members agreed with Dr. Mist's statements. After the one-sided combat and witnessing how Naruto handled them afterwards, they had all accepted their loss. It was the finest experience of their lives to be cured by his energy, and they desired to sleep beneath his protection forever. It made them happy but also made them feel uneasy if it was done. They wanted to request that it continue, but it seemed wrong to do so. Naruto grinned as he reflected on his remarks and the reactions he got from everyone. I'm glad we could reach an agreement. I really don't want to put you in house arrest and waste your talents, Naruto remarked, looking at the global guardians to his left, save for Dr. Mist, who sat at the far end of the table opposite him. The guardians were moved by his words and thoughts since his voice was genuine and sympathetic. They could feel his love for them, and it was difficult to imagine his doing them wrong. Everything from the beginning continued to strengthen their tie of trust, which was greater than others since they felt linked on a spiritual level. Unlike the villains, Naruto respected the heroes and sought to defeat them without using any destructive means. Heroes are often stubborn, so he had to consider things out carefully and prepare ahead of time for them. He was incapable of making errors in his deeds or words. He couldn't allow himself to get irritated and hasty when they refused him. The only thing he could do was prove them incorrect and keep them grounded while he continued down the road. Naruto didn't expect everyone to go along happily, and some of them may have to be imprisoned until the conquest was over. All of this was to be expected, since not everyone saw things the same way he did, and particularly because everyone had a negative image of the imperial system. Dr. Mist nodded in agreement, happy with Naruto's approach to dealing with them. He didn't treat them as a bother and showed genuine respect for them, despite the fact that they had been foes just minutes before. How can we assist you? Do you want our help in discussions with the other teams? Dr. Mist inquired and gave the few areas in which they might assist. You all can assist me in a variety of ways, as the world will always require heroes to protect it until the end of time. Our only adversaries will come from the outside. But first, we need to tidy our house. I plan to speak with the others, and your presence will be a powerful ally on my side. You are linked to Black Adam, Sandstorm. So, what are your thoughts on our discussions with him? Naruto responded by depicting a glorious future in which mankind ruled the whole solar system and lived peacefully while the battles took place elsewhere. He displayed larger representations of each of them. The graphics and sounds provided an incredible lift to their spirits. Sandstorm was taken aback by the observation and pondered about it. Before being imprisoned, Black Adam had been a hero. He was similar to Naruto, however his approach to others was less pleasant and he lacked patience. He became a villain after waking up in the new period and was now generally neutral, enjoying a quiet existence. He was too self-centered to assist anybody. Sandstorm didn't want to see his rescuer wounded, but given Naruto's attitude, it may not even come to that. Mr. Adam is too proud to serve, even though he agrees with your method. Like our commander, I think you will need to beat him in war. It needs to be a full win, with no prospect of his success. I share this viewpoint because I believe Mr. Emperor would not bring unnecessary damage to my savior. Sandstorm stated calmly while looking at Naruto and securely gripping his hands. It was not a pleasant experience to talk about your friend's beatings. I appreciate your feedback, Sandstorm. You don't have to worry about Black Adam because I'll look after him. Thank you very much, Emperor. I'm excited to work with you and help make the world a better place for future generations. Sandstorm nodded and grinned at his remarks. He was overjoyed that his nation was finally free of its issues and that his children would have a beautiful existence. Naruto had dealt with all of the criminals and corrupt people while setting the groundwork for a brighter future. Most developing countries have a corruption problem that was distinct from corruption in rich countries. The powerful corrupt leaders exploited their own people and didn't care what happened to their nation or their people. They were simply interested in their personal benefit. If they didn't get a piece of the pie, they'd reject even the most helpful proposals. However, most people would never want to invest in a project that required them to pay big amounts to several dishonest authorities. Then these leaders wound themselves in the wallets of developed nation leaders, who gave them vast quantities of money that seemed to be extremely significant. However, it was only significant for a person and not for a nation. In exchange, these leaders sold rights to those countries and had their country abused to the point that the cash provided to them seemed to be pocket change. The developed world system maintained these leaders of undeveloped and some emerging countries in their hands and used them to achieve their aims. They shielded these people and only removed them when the corrupt leaders became a problem. To make things worse, the populace had been corrupted by the absence of controls in the crooked system. Many of the workers in these nations would be sluggish and ineffective if the owner wasn't keeping an eye on them. It made conducting business in such nations a nightmare, particularly given the corruption. That was the difference between corruption in a developed country and corruption in a developing one. Developed countries mostly exploited other countries, whereas undeveloped and emerging countries primarily exploited their own people and caused internal harm. Both sides were not free, since the government only allowed for a certain amount of freedom and comfort. The true power was always with the system, and individuals could never alter those fundamental choices. That was the honest fact of the modern world, since the vast majority of people would never condone their country, heinous deeds committed beyond their boundaries. It demonstrated unequivocally that power was never in the hands of the people, and that the system only permitted things when it was convenient for it. Naruto improved the leadership and provided them with the skills and resources to develop the country while also assisting the populace. Naruto expelled chaos agents from rich countries and their private armed units. With more greenery accessible to meet the country's requirements, new schools and colleges sprung up, and professors became available. Naruto provided educated and enthusiastic people with the necessary knowledge of various subjects to become effective instructors. He made factories for many things accessible while also allowing people to operate them. Naruto could create anything with his elemental manipulation if he understood its composition. He had previously thoroughly examined a plethora of innovations in the New World, so it was a simple task. Because of their corrupt systems, these countries' industries were difficult to establish. These countries' leaders were content with giving interviews and taking selfies with strong powers while signing meaningless contracts. They would have made it a priority under the present administration, but it would have cost time and money. With a sweep of his hand, Naruto helped these countries skip years of effort and set them on a fast track to catch up with the industrialized nations. And this wasn't even the end of Naruto's plans to create an empire. All of the nations would simply become separate areas of a single empire, with comparable levels of progress. The sole distinction would be one of culture, languages, food, and speciality. Naruto aimed to create his perfect society in which individuals could use their imaginations without having to work for a living. It would be a society in which everyone worked on what they enjoyed. Small tasks would vanish as robots took over, leaving only those that humans wanted to do and would want to perform. Naruto's empire had endless resources since they were not constrained to Earth and could simply get what they desired from other worlds and boundless space. Naruto's concept was big, and it had already touched many people's hearts via interviews, drawings, and comics. Naruto had previously shown the vision and how it functioned. People were still unconvinced about the dream's validity. However, Naruto made fair arguments, and many people believed that once the conquest was over, they would see the whole picture. The vision was lovely and excellent. However, Naruto anticipated that the first few years would be challenging for both him and the people. Many individuals would lose their sense of purpose in life since life had just recently become that way. And persuading individuals' desire to develop society while not having to work was not an easy undertaking. Nonetheless, just because it was tough and the outcome was unclear didn't mean Naruto would compromise and go with the same old way to make things simple. Naruto thought that the people would support his concept, particularly given the existential dangers from beyond and the diverse skills that would be accessible to them. Just because society had been liberated from labor did not imply that everyone was equal. Everyone would be able to apply for anything they wished, but they would have to demonstrate their ability. If they demonstrated their ability, they may even become extremely powerful. Individuals would have ranks even in the new world, since certain individuals would always be at the top. Everyone, however, has the opportunity to ascend to the level where they can directly stand underneath Naruto if they work hard enough and improve their powers. That was a risk Naruto was ready to accept, and it would serve as a constant motivation for him to continue developing in strength in order to maintain his invincibility. How about the Green Lantern Corps? Will they take my words seriously, Ice Maiden, Crimson Fox? Naruto looked at the females that were linked to the Green Lanterns. I believe he will pay attention to what you say. Green Lanterns, unlike Earth heroes, are not bound by such constraints and may kill the majority of their foes. But he's gone on a mission, and I'm not sure when he'll return. Although it was just an opinion, Ice Maiden responded enthusiastically. Regardless, she was near to the goal, so it was beneficial. My man isn't going to be easy. He, unlike the other heroes, dislikes killing. But maybe he'll listen. I just cannot offer you any assurances concerning his decision. But I'll attempt to persuade him. He also knows our world's challenges, therefore allowing a decent leader to take command should be no problem. Crimson Fox responded, thinking about how, but couldn't provide a definitive response since they weren't really close. She would not have joined Naruto either, but that had changed after the war. She, like most others, despised the imperial system, which belonged to a bygone period. I see. We'll simply have to wait and see what happens. I'll approach everyone calmly and offer them the option. Dr. Mist accepted since he couldn't guarantee that the other teams would listen. They were all stubborn and set in their ways. It was difficult to place such a high level of faith in someone and jeopardize the whole globe. Even he felt resistance to such an idea and only trusted Naruto after a struggle with him and saw his nature in battle. Most individuals would be unable to control their reactions and reveal their genuine selves in critical and dynamic circumstances. It's probably for the best. It's a terrible chore, but I'm eager to help. Thank you for your offer. Take a break for the day, though, and see the areas that have been renovated. You'll be pleased with the outcome. We will take that advice, and we will also inform the world of our allegiance. I feel it will be beneficial to our efforts. Dr. Mist believed it was a good idea to visit those locations and even considered methods to aid their new cause. That's an excellent concept, my advisor. Don't be startled, my friends. You'll have places in my court. Dr. Mist, I like your expertise and insight, so I've given you a position as one of my advisors. I make the same offer to Konan. She has served in a combat zone and under a strong ruler, so she will assist me in not behaving in the same way. Naruto chose to better attach them to his mission before letting them go. The offer surprised everyone, and some of them were not pleased with the offer made to Konan. The girls were upset because they were neglected, while Konan became closer to Naruto since she was often with him. Pamela wanted to express her displeasure but held back since she didn't want to offend the emperor. But she and the other females exchanged glances with Konan, agreeing to study up on relevant things to earn the spot. They had never considered being separated by such stances before, but now they recalled that they were going to build an immortal empire. I shall gladly take the honorable charge, my lord. Dr. Mist was pleased with the situation and became more interested in him. It was the same with Konan, who was so moved by the offer that she burst into tears. She had never considered staying at the top in the new period, but she was given another opportunity to cleanse her name. Naruto provided the heroes an upgrade based on the good they had done once the offer was accepted. The power increase was more potent than what he had given the villains before. After proving themselves in fight, the heroes weren't the only ones who received a power boost. Naruto then returned everyone to their respective positions. Victor was sent to his wife to have his reunion, while Naruto went with Konan to speak to him about the Rinnegan. Naruto, on the other hand, was not finished for the day. His clones were visiting a few locations before anybody could respond. One of his clones went to see the Science Squad, a group made up of the Powerpuff Girls and other characters. The other clone followed Laura and the Young Justice. The other clone proceeded to Atlantis, while the last clone went to the Mistira, an Amazonian island. It had been a busy day. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. I hope you did enjoy this part of the story, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.